Hey, hockey fans, T-Boz is 13-3 here with another top shelf guest. Green Bay, Wisconsin native, former Michigan State Spartan, and current Winnipeg Jet, Mason Appelton. This episode is sponsored by Market & Johnson, Parker Insurance, Valley Sports Academy, Northwoods Therapy and Associates, and Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, which has been committed to the healthcare needs of patients in western Wisconsin since 1954. The surgeons and athletic trainers serve many area schools in the Chippewa Valley of Wisconsin. Mogi.
Hey, Mason, thanks so much for hosting us here at your house in your hometown of Green Bay, Wisconsin. We can see Lambeau Field in the background. Very cool. Thanks for having us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Excited to be here and excited to talk to you guys today.
Cool. You grew up in a football hotbed. Did you play football in school?
I did. Obviously, was never as good as a player at football that I am at hockey. But I played actually kind of up to high school. Only played tackle football in middle school, but kind of grew up playing flag football. And, we played a lot more in our backyards and front yards more than anything. You got six buddies and you're out there killing each other in the front yard. And some of my greatest memories with my buddies growing up were doing exactly that. We played street hockey and that stuff as well, but we played a ton of football in the front yard and football in the snow. And it was, it's 24/7 kind of when you got the Packers in your backyard.
So who was your guy? Who did you pretend that you were while you were playing? Were you Brett Favre? Who were you?
If I was quarterback, I was Rodgers or Favre. Wide receiver, you're Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, one of those guys, Donald Driver. So, yeah, I guess we like to dream, but, we were spoiled obviously with the Packers and, the talent they've had growing up. So it was easy to pick a player and pretend that you were him in the front yard.
How about when you played street hockey?
I never really did that as I played street hockey. It was kind of weird. Like people always ask me what was my favorite hockey team too. And I never really had one. I think kind of the Packers just took over all of that stuff. So I never had a favorite hockey team. I mean, we'll talk about how much I loved hockey more than anything else, but it was just kind of the Packers, and that was it for sports teams that I like. And kind of outside of the Winnipeg Jets, it's only the Packers for me now. So yeah, that's how I roll.
Wow, cool.
How did you get introduced to hockey?
I think it was probably my dad. He played growing up. His siblings played growing up. He never played on after high school. He might tell you he was good enough to play on, but don't let him kid you there. But
where did he grow up?
He grew up here as well.
He's here, okay.
Yeah. So I think my parents probably put me on ice. I was a little over 2 years old the first time. My mom tells stories that I didn't love it at first, but by the time I was 3 years old, then it was kind of hockey for me. So I've been playing the game for 25 years now.
Wow.
That's great.
So you didn't maybe didn't catch on right away, but as soon as it did, just no going back.
Yeah, and it was the thing where, I played baseball and football as well. So it was, you have your 4 months, then you go to the next sport and then the next sport. So that's kind of how I grew up. And, I love when kids now that are, only 10, 12 years old, I like to see them doing the same thing because guys can get so caught up in these camps and things at such a young age. And, I'm very anti that. So I was very blessed to be able to play 3 sports growing up. And I think that, definitely rounded me out as an athlete.
Do you think that helped your muscle growth too? Learning all these different sports and doing different activities as a result of those sports?
100%. Like you can go through each sport and exactly find out how it helps you in the game of hockey. Like you take baseball, for example, you're tipping a puck. That's the same, or you're bunting a ball or hitting a ball. It's the same as tipping a puck. The hand-eye you learn in football, catching a pass, like that's the same as hand-eye in hockey. Like there's so many things that are interchangeable that have rounded me out as an athlete, and obviously the muscle groups as well too. You're running and you're doing more agility work in football and baseball, and then obviously that translates to your on-ice speed. So there's a lot that you need to round yourself out as an athlete when you're young. So then once you really hone in on your one specific sport, I think it can just take you to a new level. Whereas if you only focused on one your whole life, you're not tapped into all these different muscle groups and all these different things that you could have learned the last 15 years of your life.
Hallelujah. That's the way JC and I believe it should go too. But it's not always the way kids go nowadays. So I'm really happy to hear a professional hockey player promote that.
Yeah, no, I'll beat that. I'll beat that horse till it's dead because I've seen so many kids now it's hockey 12 months of the year and then they burn out as they're a junior in high school.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, like you can't pound a kid that hard when he's that young. So I think, and you have so many friends. You want to play baseball with them. Then you have your hockey friends and your football friends and your soccer friends. So I think it, rounds you out as a person too. And I'm a big advocate of it.
When you come back home to Green Bay, do you still get time to associate with those old buddies that you played those sports with?
For sure. Usually Friday and Saturday nights. Or no, I like golfing with them and stuff like that. During the week, obviously, pretty diligent and serious about, my work and getting all my stuff done. But it's nice being done by 1, 2 o'clock every day. And then you can go, golfing with the buddy that gets out of work at 4 or 5 and things like that. So I'm still, best friends with the kids I grew up with. And yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons I come back to Green Bay every summer too, is to be with them.
So you mentioned that you had just been at the Cornerstone Community Center doing your workout. Can you tell us what your regimen is like in the summertime?
Yeah, so I think I've worked with the same guy now for probably the last 15 years of my life. I don't, I'm not heavy weightlifting as much as I used to back in, college and junior days, but it's more tailored to a little more mobility, injury prevention and stuff like that. But I would say early in the summer, it's kind of just getting the body back to moving right, feeling good. And then as summer progresses, I'd say into July, we get a little heavier with some of the lifts. And then, it'd be lower reps, higher weight. And then come August, September, it's you get back to that quick twitch, that, a lot of fast movements, higher reps, and then a lot more plyo work as well. So you kind of, build your body up to be its strongest and then taper down the weight and just try to get as fast as you can and just feeling as good as you can heading into training camp.
How much time do you usually take off after a season before you start ramping it back up again, working out?
Yeah, I mean, I think every season's a little different because, if you're coming off of an injury or you don't make the playoffs, generally I would take about 3 weeks off and then I'd get back in the gym. And then this was my first week back skating. So I like to take about a month and a half off before I start skating. But because you kind of need that downtime just to unwind, let the body recover. So, I'm usually back in the gym within 3 or so weeks and then back on the ice at about the 5-6 week mark.
Okay.
Do your trainers for the Jets, do they give you a specific workout they want you to work on, or is it kind of whatever you feel is necessary?
It's kind of whatever you feel. I mean, if they got a guy and they don't like how he comes back to training camp, probably the next year they're going to have their hands on you, as they should, right? But I've always been, a pretty diligent worker in their off season where they kind of know what I like to do and how I like to, go about my summer. So they have no problem with how I train throughout the summer.
All right.
So talk about your youth hockey development. Who did you start playing with? Who were your coaches and some of your buddies that you grew up playing with the whole way up? Yeah.
So, in Green Bay, it's Green Bay Bobcats is kind of what you start off with. It's just your local, house league. And, from there, my dad was my coach kind of growing up there. And then we moved to AAA hockey, which was the Junior Gamblers. And my best buddy, Brett Gruber, his dad was our coach. And we played Junior Gamblers all the way up until high school. And then high school was when we made the transition to high school in Team Wisconsin, obviously. But yeah, growing up, it was a lot of good talent around here. And we were kind of, we always had a top 10, top 15 team in the country with the Junior Gamblers. So I think that's, a pretty good accomplishment for us. And yeah. I would say if you go back and break down those rosters, we probably had 4 or 5 kids to move on to the Division I level. So
that is impressive.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, very much so.
Your freshman year in high school, you went to Ashwaubenon, 15 goals, 23 assists, and 38 points. Pretty doggone good for a freshman going into, starting out as the youngest in high school. What was that like? I mean, was it just you had great teammates or you were just freaking fast?
Yeah. I really wasn't fast then. I was still, I was very undersized. I think, I had to learn to play the game as one of the smallest guys on the ice. And I think that's a big reason why I'm successful now, is because now that I grew, I still have that ability to, read plays that I had to figure out when I was 5'3" as a freshman, So, but at Ashwaubenon, I wasn't sure fully what to expect kind of going into it, because you're only playing with kids your same age all the way up. And then you're in the corner battling against a full grown senior, and you kind of got to figure out, sink or swim time kind of. But I always played. I had really good line mates at Ashwaubenon. And obviously that's, credit to them why I had maybe 38 points. And I think, some of my line mates probably had 40 and maybe even 50 too. So, I had a lot of success there. I loved the guys there, and it was a really good team. I just felt, with the talent at Notre Dame, and I saw the drive in a lot of guys wanting to get to the next level, and I felt that that's what kind of was the right move for me. And obviously looking back, I think it was.
Well, yeah, made the right move. So thinking about it as I'm a former coach and educator, and JC's obviously a former coach as well and a referee. How did your upperclassmen handle you being a freshman, stepping in and being so good? I mean, did they accept you? Did they make you a part of the team? Did they?
Yeah. I never felt that they didn't handle it perfectly right. I think, like I touched on, I thought it was a great group of guys, and you want everyone to succeed, and that's when your team's the best. So
exactly,
you hope it doesn't matter what age you are. Obviously, there's guys that are going to be bitter. It's any level. Someone steals your job, they're going to be a little pissed off on the surface, but they'll come around and they'll understand it. And if you don't want your teammates to succeed, then why are you playing a team sport? Then go play singles tennis or do something by yourself. Yeah. So I found that I never had that struggle at all at a Schwabenon or not that I noticed that guys were, kind of salty with me if I was playing over them or anything like that. So yeah, credit to, I think, that's kind of that's a culture thing. That's a coach's thing. So, they kind of instilled that in the players as well. But yeah, I never felt that I was, pushed away by some guys just because maybe I was playing more than them as a younger guy.
Sure. Great to hear that can happen on teams, and that's when it creates dissension, and that's a caustic culture.
Yeah.
Glad you didn't have to suffer through that.
Your sophomore year, game-winning goal in double overtime against Wausau West. How sweet did that feel?
Very sweet. That was the first year at Notre Dame. Obviously, we had a really good team all 3 years at Notre Dame. We had a really good team. I could look back and say maybe that was our third best team I had in my 3 years there, and that was the team we won it with. But a lot of things got to go right to get to state championship game, and then obviously to score the biggest goal of the season was cherry on top. But it's a goal I'll never forget, and it's a great feeling to win a championship.
How does it rank in your all-time goal scoring?
See, when you sent me that question, I actually thought about that one for a long time. It's probably a top 3 goal for me, which is crazy to say because, I've scored at the NHL level, the AHL level, D1 hockey. Maybe my first NHL goal, maybe an overtime game winner in college, maybe. And then that goal, it's a top 3 goal in my life.
Yeah, very cool.
You mentioned first goal in the NHL. Do you remember when that was and who it was against?
Oh, yeah. I could run you through the whole shift.
All right, awesome.
No, let's hear it. But there's a little turnover on the wall, and Nick Patan, who I played with the full year prior in the minors, we were on a line all year. We had really good chemistry, and we were both called up to the Jets kind of at the same time. And I knew when he pulled up on the half wall with the puck that if I could just beat my man kind of to the back post, he would throw a sauce pass and land it right on my tape. And literally exactly that happened. And I just put the puck in the net. And yeah, it was an unbelievable feeling, but especially to have the guy pass it to you who you've been playing with the last, year and a quarter. It was really special.
Very cool.
And what team was that against?
San Jose. Yeah, it was, I think it was actually like my 12th game in the league. So it was kind of getting to that period where it's like, okay,
I got to score.
Yeah, you got to score. I had an assist my first period of my first game. So I'm like, oh, league's easy. Oh. no, just kidding. But I'm like, okay, kind of feeling it. And then I went, at game 12, and I'm like, okay, Mason, you got to get on the board here. And like I said, it was just a great play by Patan, and I was there to knock it home.
Sweet.
All right. So also, while you're in high school, I know we're kind of moving around here, which is great. We have a lot to talk about, but you had an opportunity to participate with the USA Select U17 camp. So what was that like?
It was good. I've got cut from that camp every year up until that year. So,
wow.
Yeah, that was probably I think, getting cut from those camps was probably the big reason to, where I am now. It kind of pissed me off so much and, just pushed me to that next level and to want to pass all these kids. And, I remember printing out sheets of every kid that made those camps over me. And I'm like, every day in the summer, it's like, okay, I'm going to pass you, pass you, pass you. That was kind of my approach to it. So when I finally got there as a 17-year-old, it was great. But at the same time, I was like still kind of salty at them because I'm like, you guys cut me the last 3 years. I hate you all. But that's how I am. So,
you got motivated by it, though. And look what happened.
Right. No, that's how I roll. So, yeah, I mean, I remember getting cut much more than I remember even being at that last camp.
We interviewed Kami Kronish, the Badger goalie, not too long ago, and she was a bench sitter her first 3 years in college, and then her senior year, she told the coach, I want to be the starter and I want to win a national championship.
Jeez.
Just like you. She wasn't a quitter. Yeah. You neither are you. It motivated you rather than turned you sour. Well, it turned you sour, but I mean, that sourness was enough to keep you motivated to say, screw you, I'm coming back with a vengeance.
Yep.
I like it.
So those guys that you played with, anybody else make it to the show?
Yeah, I think, at that U17 camp, there was like Nick Schmaltz, Dvorak, some guys like that. I'm sure there was probably Anders Bjork. There's probably a handful of NHLers. But like I said, I don't even remember the camp that well. I just remember always getting cut before that.
Wow. All right, man. USHL. You make the jump to the USHL. You were drafted to get there, weren't you?
Yeah, similar story kind of. I got passed on in the futures draft, passed on in the main draft the next year. And then it was until after my senior year that then I went third overall to Tri-City.
What was that experience like jumping from high school to the USHL? Big transition?
Yeah, very big. Coming off of my senior year of high school, you're kind of one of the guys, you have a great year. You hope you can make the jump to the USHL. Like I grew up watching the Gamblers. Obviously, you can see that it's a high level of hockey, and basically 90% of your team's going Division I. And I committed to Michigan State right before I went to the USHL, so I had a comfort level with that. That colleges believed in me and that I did belong in that league. And I actually started similar to the AHL. I started off on the fourth line for maybe the first 3 games, and then from there I was up to the first line, and I was the first line center the rest of the season. But it's a significant jump. Every player was the best player on their team the year prior before getting to the league. So you got to find ways that make you stand out amongst 19 others that are very similar in that aspect. So I think just trying to really round out a 200-foot game and be very reliable. And you're still at an age where not everyone likes to listen. So if a coach is telling you one thing, that's what you do, and you do it to your best ability, whether you agree with it or not. And that's something that I think that's helped me climb the ladder, because there's guys that think, I'm going to do it this way. And then when they fail, the coach for the next 2 months despises that guy as a player. So I think I became very coachable and just try to play the most complete game I can. And that's why I think, I had, say, 40 points in 50 games or whatever it was in the USHL, and was able to, round my game out well enough to be able to jump to the college level in 1 year, where most guys take, 2, maybe 3 years.
Right. All right, we're going to take a minute and shout out a couple of sponsors. Northwoods Therapy takes pride in being your choice for physical therapy in the Chippewa Valley since 1981. Northwoods Physical Therapy is a clinic where you can receive the care you deserve and are treated like family. And Valley Sports Academy is a new state-of-the-art training facility located in the Chippewa Valley, featuring hockey, soccer, baseball, softball, and new to the area, lacrosse. They are devoted to helping athletes reach their next level utilizing tools like their skating treadmill, rapid shot, rapid hands, synthetic ice shooting lanes, 100% real ice training rink, and high-level coaching staff. Check them out today at valleysportsacademy.com.
Mason, you had mentioned that Michigan State had come calling before the USHL. When did they start looking at you?
I think I started talking to some smaller schools like late junior, early senior year. Obviously, then the bigger schools kind of start coming along once you get the smaller schools' interest. So I was talking to, say, like Northern Michigan, but maybe like Midwestern schools that were just a little bit smaller. Nothing against those schools, obviously. But I really wanted to play in the Big Ten. I obviously, all my buddies, or a lot of buddies ended up going to Wisconsin and committing to Wisconsin early. So, like the other stories I tell you, once kind of when they passed on me a little bit, it was like, hey, I don't want to go there. So that they offered me a scholarship as well, kind of at the same time as Michigan State. But I took my visit at Wisconsin, and I kind of just still had that salty taste in my mouth. But so there was nothing they could have done on that visit, I think, to convince me to go there. And
Wow.
My sister went there, both my parents went there, so they're Badger fans. But I'm not a Badger fan, even a little. So
Go Spartans, apparently.
yeah. So I actually visited Michigan State right after that, and then I had a couple other visits, kind of getting set up. But once I left MSU's campus, I said to my dad on the ride home, I was like, yeah, I want to go here, and he was like, yeah, I agree. It's been a great visit, and I think it's a good spot for you. So yeah.
What made you make that decision? What was so special about that visit?
I think, I just you kind of feel at home. Everybody's got that place where they step on to it and it's like, yeah, this feels right. So I think that was it for me. In the Big Ten, it's a lot of similar atmospheres. You got the social life, you got the good academics, you got, the football, the basketball, you got all those things. So I think that a lot of the Big Ten schools are set up the same way like that, which I love. But I just kind of felt like Michigan State was home, and yeah.
What did they see in you that you were bringing to the table that they wanted?
I think kind of the stuff I talked about that made me successful in the USHL. I think, obviously I committed right before the USHL, but I was trying to work real hard to become a more complete player. Offense, comes easy when you're one of the best players in high school. Like, you're going to put up numbers. It's just, the fine details in your game, really, really competing on both ends of the ice and really taking pride in defending and playing the game the right way, because that's what has success at the next level, the next level, the next level. So if you can't do that, you're just a dime a dozen, and you'll get passed by someone else. So I think they really appreciated the true way I played the game, and like I said, just trying to be that 200-foot player that can play power play, penalty kill, 5-on-5, be reliable in all areas of the game.
So you were the outstanding rookie your freshman year at Michigan State, but then you made a significant jump in production between freshman and sophomore year. Did your approach change, or what happened over that off season that made you be so much more effective as a sophomore?
Yeah. I think I was still getting faster and stronger and all of those things. So obviously that has a little bit to do with it, but I think it's just a big confidence thing. Like, every time you jump the ladder, you really don't know how good the hockey is going to be until you're a part of it. So I think, growing confidence and just becoming comfortable kind of at that level. And then from there, figuring out how do you beat guys that are still 23, 24-year-old seniors that are stronger and, a little more physical than you, and those types of things. So there was definitely a learning curve at the college level as well. And I think, diligently going about my summer, putting on, the right muscle and becoming faster and those things like that did help me. But I think just that confidence and becoming more comfortable in my game helped me take that jump.
Well, you were able to stay in the Big Ten. So when you went to Michigan State, did you play that much harder against Wisconsin because of the salty taste?
And the buddies you knew?
Nah, I mean, maybe, but I try to play as hard as I can every game. So I can't say I'd try to play harder against Wisconsin, but I always had a ton of family in the stands every time we'd play at Wisconsin, which was pretty special. And definitely had a good amount of buddies that played at that school and went to that school. So that was always, a fun little rivalry we had.
You didn't sharpen the elbow pads or anything for the corner plays, did you?
Should have.
Right.
So you mentioned you've been working out with the same trainer for the past 15 years. Well, this guy must have the secret sauce for you, because every level you've gone to, you've excelled, and we're not going to lower leagues here. We're going to juniors. We're going to college, the Big Ten. Now we're going to the pros.
Yeah, no, I've got a lot of high praise for Chase. I think he's a great guy who is learning constantly and getting better. If we watched a workout of mine from 12 years ago, we'd all laugh at some of the stuff we were doing. But obviously, like, he's evolved as much as anyone has, and he's really tailored, his approach to what my body needs, and that he actually works with. He's been St. Norbert's hockey guy for the last number of years too, so he's won a lot of national championships with them too.
Yeah.
But you guys are Eau Claire guys, so I don't.
Oh, we interviewed Tim Coughlin a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
I mean, we're equal opportunity podcast here,
Okay,
Mason.
there we go. Yeah, no, Cox is a great guy too. But yeah, he's done a really good job of, you can communicate with him what you want to improve on in the summer and, what you need to focus on, and he can really tailor that to your body and, who you are. And I think he's a big part of where I am now.
Nice.
We were able to get introduced to you through a previous T-Boss guest, Charlie Grasskamp. You played against him with Team Wisconsin. As you look back in your playing days with Charlie, any dirt you want to share our listeners about Charlie and his style and, what kind of guy he was in the corner?
He was a very, very skilled player. I don't know if I can go at him right now. No, he's a good dude. We've had some good nights too, where he's visited Michigan State on his way home from school or from juniors. So we strung together a couple beers, a couple nights, but we can save those stories for off the air maybe. But Charlie's a great guy, and I got a lot of respect for him.
Okay, very good.
We agree with you on all those fronts. He's very talented and a great dude.
Yeah,
you're right.
And he does do good with the hockey pops now.
After the games, he's pretty good. I would say he's still in the top 3.
All right. When did pro teams start looking at you as a possible draft choice?
Yeah, I was actually, I was drafted my second year of eligibility in the NHL. So I got drafted after my year of juniors. Going into technically my first year eligible, I knew there was about a 0% chance to get drafted. But then throughout my junior year, I talked to, a good chunk of teams. I didn't interview with a ton of teams before the draft. And obviously that's kind of them doing their due diligence and like if you're really on their board. So I wasn't too sure kind of where I felt like I was going to fall in the draft. I ended up going to the draft. Winnipeg, or one of the scouts in Winnipeg actually, kind of talked me into it. I didn't really want to go just for the sake of if you didn't get drafted, how terrible that would be. Yeah. So I mean, from what my agent was telling me, he was thinking like 4th, 5th round maybe. And then as the 5th round passed, like I wasn't even watching the draft. Like I was just kind of head between my legs. I'm like, see, Mom, I didn't want to come here. And my parents are kind of calling me down. And I'm like, no, this is so stupid. I didn't want to be here, blah, blah, blah. And then your name gets called. And then it's like, okay, it's all good again. Yeah. So there was a period where I was sweating it out a little bit, but, I wouldn't have changed it. And I was able to, we actually got on the plane right after and flew home, and we had a big party at my house. And yeah, it was great.
So after your sophomore season, you're the MVP at Michigan State. You're the most outstanding offensive player. Going into your junior year, you're voted captain. But you decided to go pro. Any regrets? No,
I don't have a regret with that. But I mean, you've heard the way I talk about Michigan State. I love it down to my core. But I think it was the hardest decision I've ever made in my life. A lot of sleepless nights there, kind of trying to figure out what I really wanted to do. And, I think at the end of the day, I just kind of had to ask myself if I felt the NHL was my goal, that turning pro was the best decision for me. So that's kind of what it ultimately came down to. I was very comfortable at MSU. I knew, like you said, I was the captain. I could go back. I knew I'd have another good year, but the NHL was my goal. And I felt that was, the best way to get me there was to turn pro. And obviously, I had to make my way up from the minors, but yeah, no regrets there.
We're going to give a quick shout out to a couple of our sponsors. Parker Insurance, multiple companies, multiple products, multiple savings. See Ryan Parker, who is a hockey coach himself in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, for all of your insurance needs. And Markin & Johnson, big sponsors of hockey in the Chippewa Valley. Thanks to our friends at Markin & Johnson, longtime supporters of the great game of hockey and our youth throughout the Chippewa Valley region. And we appreciate both of these sponsors. I want to go back to the draft here real quick. Did you get a chance to get the jersey picture with Gary Bettman?
No, I think really only the first round does that. So 6th round. 6th round doesn't get that. Yeah.
That'd be a lot of pictures for Gary.
Yeah. Yes, it would.
So you stand up, you wave to everybody, you shake the hand of the winner?
You walk down, you kind of shake the hands of all the, the scouting staff and GMs and coaches, and then then all the picks go to like a draft room and they kind of, have something set up for you. But like I said, I took off shortly after that, but that's kind of how they set it up.
So 6th rounder, okay?
Yeah.
First rounders, chances are really good you're going to see some time.
Yeah.
Not everybody makes it, and then as you go down, fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer guys actually make it.
Yeah.
But I look at you, here you are, you've made it. I believe you got 247 NHL games.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. So it doesn't sound like you really were a 6th round choice. I mean, I think the Jets got a pretty doggone good value for you.
Yeah, I like to think so. Only so many, like you said, only so many 6th rounders actually make it. You do the math, you got a guy who's 20 years old in the league and a guy who's 37. That could be 17 years of first round picks. You know what I mean? Like the odds to make it as a first are pretty good. As a second, I can't say they're that good. And then from there, it's not good. I would say less than 5% of 6th round picks actually play more than probably 100 games in the league.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but I would guess something around there. So, to play at that level for, this will be my 6th year in the NHL now is, a pretty good accomplishment. Obviously I hope to play longer, but, I'm proud of the career I've had so far.
We talked about motivation earlier where you got pissed because you didn't make the certain teams. Was that kind of a motivation as a 6th rounder to prove to these NHL scouts and the staff that you're better than that?
Oh, 100%. I've always, found every guy that's been picked ahead of me or, made this camp ahead of me. And like, not that I have anything against those guys. It's like, okay, that's my target. Like, I looked at our whole draft class and we actually had a really good class. Kyle Connor and Roslovic were the 2 first-round picks, both obviously really good NHL players. Jansen Arkin, 2nd-round pick. He's played up and down in the NHL. We didn't 3rd-round pick. He had concussion issues, so he's not playing anymore. 4th round didn't play in the NHL. 6th round pick played in the NHL. Me, obviously, and then 7th round played in the NHL. So like we actually had a really talented draft class. But I kind of left my first development camp, and I was like, I only think 2 kids in this class are better than me, which were Roslovic and Connor, and I felt that I was better than everyone else. So that kind of it motivated me for sure, and it gave me that fire to pass those guys. And I think I would say nothing against any of them, but I think I would say I've done that.
I would agree with you.
I like his determination. I mean, just for our younger
he believes
listeners,
in himself.
Listen to this. I mean, just because somebody says no doesn't mean there's another ladder you can climb.
Right.
Did you go to the NHL Combine?
No.
Okay. So you didn't have to prove yourself there. You were on the right track. You were going to get drafted, and things were on track for you.
Yeah, I don't even know if second-year eligible guys go to the Combine. I think it's really only like the top, say, 100 and some guys in their first year eligible. So obviously if you're not invited to the Combine, and I wasn't even really talking to teams, so like I didn't expect to be invited to the Combine. So where it was my, then they had a full year of juniors to watch me, and yeah, I think that was kind of enough then.
So you actually started your pro career with the Manitoba Moose of the AHL. You're an American, you played all your hockey in America. Is there any difference between playing hockey in Canada and hockey in America?
Yeah. It's almost like football in Green Bay, it's Packers 24/7. We're up there. It's their hockey team 24/7. Winnipeg has the CFL team, the Blue Bombers, but it's Jets 24/7. So it's much different. You turn on SportsCenter here, you're lucky to see a hockey clip on the top 10. Up there on TSN, it's 9 of the 10 clips. So it's very different. It's almost like, basketball and football is around here. It's just hockey's definitely tier 1 for them, and then everything else is down here. There's no close second, to be honest, where here, hockey's probably number 4. Football, basketball, baseball, I would say. And then you got hockey. Like you go to Texas, you couldn't find a hockey game on a TV channel outside of Dallas. If the Stars aren't playing, so there's always hockey on. Like I joke, like I can flip through my channels in Winnipeg and like I'll find like a random Junior B game on TV, and I'm like, how is this even on right now? Wow. But yeah, it's crazy. It's hockey's in their blood. It's in all their blood.
That's unbelievable. I wish it was more like that down here.
I wish it was more like that too, but it's almost like it's our little secret. You know what I mean? And although you want it to be really, really, really popular, it's kind of cool because it's a small kind of a tight-knit community. And do you want to just keep it to yourself? I don't know.
I'll tell you what, all I know is the tight-knit community that Mogi and I have experienced, Mason, is everybody that we've talked to in the hockey community is giving, and we appreciate your time. And let's talk a little bit about how you've made the move upward. You started in the pro season on the fourth line, and you've been playing first line. So
I kind of similar to juniors. I think I spent maybe the first week or two on the fourth line, and then from there I was on the first line kind of until I made the NHL. So I think coming out of training camp, there was a chance they were even going to send me to the East Coast League, I was told. But that was also added motivation. But they quickly realized that probably wasn't the right idea after, by Christmas with the year I was kind of having in the minors. So credit to that coach and, that staff for really believing in me. And, I love the coaches I had in Manitoba, and I think that they were a huge reason that I had the success I did. They put me in spots to succeed. And I played with a ton of good players like I touched on, Nick Patan, and I played with Jack Roslovic for a long time there as well. So that's a pretty good line for the minors. So it was a heck of a year, and it was a lot of learning, and you're playing against bigger, older, stronger, smarter, faster guys. So you gotta once again figure out how you're going to navigate that, and then how you're going to excel in that. So like I said, I think I was able to make that transition pretty quick, and had a good start to my year once I kind of started jumping up the lineup, and 70 or 100 games later, then, cracked the NHL.
Yeah, I would say you had a pretty good year. You were the AHL Rookie of the Year that year, and I'm sensing a trend. It seems like every time he plays with somebody, he's winning these awards. Offensive Player, Rookie of the Year, leading scorer. You set a franchise record for rookies and assists that year. So what clicked for you, or did you just continue doing what you always did, and you just grind it out and you keep moving ahead?
Yeah, I think it was kind of keeping my head down and just being the best player I can be. You quickly learn in pro hockey that if you're in the minors, it's really hard to get called up to the NHL if injuries don't happen, and if a team's playing well, you're not getting called up. So I learned that real quick. I didn't play a single game that year that I won Rookie of the Year, obviously. So it was just trying to be the best I could be on the Moose, and help that team win and find success, and then hopefully next year come training camp, I'd have a chance to maybe crack the roster, which once again, I didn't make the team out of camp, but, I got called up, I think 25 games into that year, but, just trying to not compare myself to everyone else. And I knew I was having a good year, and I was playing with really good players, just trying to keep that ball rolling. The nice thing, or the thing I love most about pro hockey is in the AHL, you had a 76 game season, NHL 82 games. You have a bad game, you're playing the next night, you're playing 2 nights from now. Where in college, you have an off weekend or a down weekend, you have 5 days to mull it over, and that wears on you a little bit. Where pro hockey, the shorter memory you have, the faster you can get back to your game. And then when you kind of get the ball rolling, you can just keep it rolling. And that's why, a 10-game point streak, you can really get on a tear. Whereas college, you have 1 or 2 off weekends, you're kind of behind the 8 ball stats wise. So I found that, the AHL and the NHL are really, that's why you see these guys scoring so many points too, is like they get feeling good, and the power play gets clicking and this and that, and you're playing every other night, and it's tough for these teams to adjust to you. And that's when the points pile up and the team success does as well.
So you mentioned that unfortunately, in order for some guys to move up from the minors to the pro leagues, they're all pros, but to the National Hockey League, is somebody has to get an injury. So you've been able to play in 247 games. How has your injury history been? Have you been pretty healthy?
Yeah, for the most part, I haven't had any crazy injury. I broke my foot before an outdoor game playing catch with a football. Yeah, that's not a good story. So we'll just leave that one there. And then last year I was real unlucky. I had my butt end of my stick get stuck in the little referee hole. As I was skating by, my stick got stuck, and my wrist obviously just folded like right under it. I broke my hand. But that was my first game back in Seattle too, so that kind of sucked. But that was a pain in the butt. I was probably out about 3 months from that. But other than that, I haven't had any crazy injuries, sprained ankle, but I've been fortunate that I haven't missed more than, 12 weeks, I guess, with an injury. And, I've played 6 years pro now. So I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, that is pretty good. So you mentioned Seattle. So they picked you in the expansion draft. What was it like going to the Kraken and being part of that first year team?
Yeah, it was an experience. I think looking back on it, obviously we didn't have the success we wanted, and that's kind of why they offloaded so many guys at the deadline. But it's a business, and no hard feelings there or anything. But it was a lot of firsts, all new guys kind of beating each other, figuring out where to live in a big city and this and that. But I didn't mind it there. I was I was over the moon though to be back. Traded to Winnipeg at the deadline, so that was nice. But yeah, Seattle's not my cup of tea for a city, so I was happy to be back in Winnipeg.
Oh, good for you. And obviously Winnipeg's happy with you that they wanted you back. Did they reach out to you and say, "Hey, are you ready to come home," or what's the deal?
Yeah. Funny enough, it was like the night before the deadline, and Seattle already traded I think 6 or 7 guys, and I was like, I kind of heard some rumblings here or there. And I was just sitting on my couch, and Andrew Kopp, who was actually still with Winnipeg at the time, called me, and he's like, "Did you just get traded back?" And I was like, "No, I don't think so." And then a reporter texted me a minute later, and he's like, "Heard you were getting traded back to Winnipeg. Can you confirm?" And I was like, "No, I haven't heard a word." And then I searched my name on Twitter, and that. There was 100 tweets about it, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then Seattle's GM called me and told me 5 minutes after that. It's funny how the Twitter world finds out before you.
Right.
But yeah, and then Chevy in Winnipeg called me as well, and I think it was 9 a.m. the next morning. I was on a plane, playing back with Winnipeg 24 hours later.
So I understand in an expansion year, your teams can't cover everybody, right?
Yeah.
So a certain amount of forwards get covered, goalies, defensemen, everybody knows how that works. So I'm guessing Winnipeg was hoping that you didn't get picked, but obviously being a good player and a young guy, that they probably saw a lot of potential for you, but
right. I think, so much goes into it. Obviously the length of guys' contracts, this and that. If you looked at our roster, it was basically, once the lists were finalized, it was kind of me or DeMello who was going to get picked. And we were kind of texting me and DeMello back and forth, hey, have you heard anything? And Seattle actually did a really good job of keeping it very quiet. Nothing kind of leaked. I mean, an hour before the draft, a bunch of stuff leaked, but I was texting him. He's like, no, man, I haven't heard a thing. And then I found out a couple hours before the draft was actually live on TV. But yeah, I think I was kind of if they could have protected maybe one more forward, I probably would have been that guy. But that's just how it is. No hard feelings towards them, obviously, as they worked hard to get me back, and we were able to get that done. So that was great. Looking back on it, I wish I never went to Seattle, but it was an experience, and I'm a better player and better person for it. So yeah.
And they traded you for a 4th rounder. Yeah,
and I was up for a deal too, so I was a year away from free agency, so all that goes into what you're getting back with the return for that, a trade like that. So there was a lot of question marks, and yeah, I was just happy that they were able to get something done.
Yeah.
When we talk about Winnipeg, you seem to get a little bit more excited about it. So obviously they're treating you well. What do you expect, or what do you want to happen this coming year out of your team?
I think obviously you want to win. If you look at our team, we battled a lot of injuries throughout the course of the season. At one point, we had, I think, 7 regulars out of the lineup for a month. And we were chasing down first place in the West for a while there. Yeah. But it got tough for a little bit down the stretch. The losses stacked up on us for a bit, and maybe that hindered our confidence a tad. But we got a lot of talent in that locker room. We got debatably the best goalie in the league. One of the best D-men in the league, some of the best forwards. So if you look at the depth of our team, I think we're right there. Obviously, I'm sure you guys have heard rumblings in the media too on which way the Jets are going. But, you can never believe that crap until anything actually happens, because you could beat yourself up by just seeing all the stuff on Twitter and social media and whatnot. But I wouldn't have wanted to be back in Winnipeg so bad if the Jets weren't a team I believed in, because obviously I want to win as a competitor too. So we've made the playoffs every year there but one. So I think that the core's right in that team. Just got to get over that hump and make a big run.
Ever any situations on the ice where the chirping starts and you have to drop the gloves?
No, I haven't fought yet, but I got to do it. Yeah, no, I'll get in a fight this year. I got to do it. It's about time. I fought in juniors, but I haven't fought in the NHL. There's been, number of scrums, just kind of from the product of playing hard and this and that. But, and I always play on the line with Adam Lowry, so he can kind of step in for me and take care of him. So maybe that's why.
Nice to have that guy there.
Yeah, I'll use that as the reason. But no, I've never fought in the NHL.
When you're on the ice and you've got that chance to get the pass and you're going down on a goalie, who's the toughest goalie you've ever faced?
Well, first I'll say I think Hollybuck's the best goalie in the league. So aside from that, I think Vasilevsky's unbelievable. I mean, the problem is too with him is he's so big that when you're coming down, like I'm not exaggerating when I say you see zero net. Like you literally don't see anything. Like you have to move or you have to push or pull the puck just perfect to get him to change, his angle by 2 inches, and then hopefully you can beat him. And then ideally you get some sort of screen or something like that, because to beat a goalie of that caliber just straight on with a shot is almost impossible. Yeah. So I think like a goalie of that with that athleticism and that size, he's very tough to beat. There's 5-6 goalies I'd probably put in that category. Even like a Saros in Nashville, he's a guy you do see some holes because he's a smaller goalie, but he's the quickest goalie in the league, and obviously his numbers show for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how about when you're going in the corner and you look over your shoulder and you go, "Oh, son of a gun! I don't want that guy on my shoulder." Who's the biggest asshole on the ice?
There's a lot of defensemen that fit that bill. Especially there's probably 10. Some of the older guys, they can get away with a little bit more. They can cross check you a little more, and maybe like a Ryan Suter or someone like that. They can get away with stuff that young guys can't in this league. But then there's also like, the real fast elite guys with their stick that like you think you're going to brace yourself in the corner, and all of a sudden they just pick your stick and they're gone the other way. So you can either get the big strong guy in the corner, or you can get the really smart manipulative guy, and he can just control your hands and your stick, and he can take the puck from you that way. So I don't know if I couldn't really pick one, but there's a lot of guys that kind of fit both those molds.
So a lot to think about and not a lot of time to think.
Exactly. Yeah. And you better make the right decision.
Right.
Coach comes to you and says, pick your 2 favorite line mates, anybody in the NHL. Who would you want to have beside you on the line?
Well, you probably want to play with McDavid. And, how do you not choose like a Crosby or someone like that too? Yeah, they're both in the middle, but like just with the way McDavid can play the game with so much pace, and then the way Crosby can, slow it down in offensive zone and be so strong below the goal line and then make his plays from there. Those are probably the 2 of the top 3 most elite players in the league, but they play such a different game. So just anybody could play on a line with those guys and have 100 points just because you got to tap them the puck and then tap the puck in the net. So I think those guys, they're so fun to watch because they're so different, but they're so elite at what they do. So if you ever put those guys on a line together, I don't even want to know. The other team would probably just quit. It'd be unstoppable.
We can't win.
Yeah, no.
We can't beat these guys.
And then I guess your favorite goalie would be who's in the net for you now?
Yeah, Hollybuck. Yeah, he's the best goalie I've ever played with. He's a stud. Yeah.
So how's practice against him?
Exactly, it's tough.
Yeah.
He takes your confidence right away. Like there's sometimes he'll be like standing out of the net and you'll just go to shoot it and he'll just like stick his stick and like stop it. Like he's not trying. Wow. I'm like, really, Bucky? Like, come on. But he's a stud. He knows where you're shooting before you know where you're shooting half the time. It's crazy how well he can read the puck, and like he'll walk you through. Like if we give up a 2-on-0, it's funny. I have confidence that he will save the puck probably 80% of the time. like a lot of the goalies, it's just mainly you go over and back, right? You know, they get the goalie to bite one way and then pass it right back. Where like Bucky will get so deep in his crease and he'll kind of just widen his legs and just basically take up the whole goal line. That is, you're just going over and back with the puck. He's not even moving more than 4 inches, and he's just right there on it the whole time. It'd be pretty interesting to watch you guys watch it. It's crazy how he approaches a 2-on-0 amongst the other goalies in the league. So I think, yeah, Bucky's the rock back there.
All right, there you go.
You've got a pretty decent contract right now with Winnipeg. Give our listeners an idea of when a contract is due, when you become an unrestricted or restricted free agent. What is the process to re-sign?
Yeah, I think for me, I've only signed contracts as a restricted free agent. Before my last 3-year deal that I just signed, I could have signed a 1-year and been eligible for free agency the following year. But as a restricted free agent, there's certain qualifications for age and games played, and if you meet those numbers, then you have arbitration rights, which then basically you have a third-party arbitrator come in if you can't agree to a deal to then basically provide you each give your side of the story, why I'm Wayne Gretzky, and then they say why I'm the worst player in the world, and then the arbitrator comes up with a number. But that's only if if you can't figure it out amongst, your agent and the Jets or your agent and whoever you're with. So that's why the arbitrator's in place, because as a restricted free agent, that gives the player a little bit of leverage where the team then doesn't have all the leverage saying, no, we're only giving you $750 because you're a restricted free agent. Yeah. So you get your fair market value with the arbitrator generally. But for me, luckily, we've never had to go to the arbitration room. I think actually before I signed my last contract, I was the last restricted free agent left unsigned, or one of the last ones that didn't go to arbitration. So it got close. We met with, our arbitration lawyers and how we were going to kind of try to attack it and this and that. But often arbitration leads to divorce because, like I said, tough. We're saying I'm Wayne Gretzky and they're saying I'm blind and can't play hockey. So you say some stuff you don't agree with and you don't believe, and then 2 weeks later you got to head back up to training camp and pretend like you're friends, and it's all good again. So that's kind of a tough process. But I was glad we got something done before I went to arbitration. But it's just kind of a cat and mouse game, like who wants to pick up the phone first? And they say if you call first, you look a little more desperate or this or that. And we kind of stood pat and they called. Obviously, we knew we were going to get something done. We both want to get something done. And then it was just, we want this term, we want this money. And then they say, no, this term, this money. And then, we've all negotiated and stuff in our lives, and you kind of meet in that middle ground, and then you're both happy, I guess, at the end. And that's kind of all that matters. And, I got the term that I wanted, and, obviously I always want to make more, but I make a very good amount of money. So, no complaints there.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
We have a new Stanley Cup winner. Vegas just raised the cup. As you look back in the season, who was the toughest team that you played against, and did you think that team had a shot at the cup?
Honestly, I didn't expect Vegas to win the cup. They're a very deep team, very good team, and obviously I was wrong because they did win the cup. But I think that I thought Boston was a really good team. We played them to 2 very tight games. But you can't set, a league record in most wins all time and say that that's probably not your favorite going into the playoffs, right?
Yep.
The Rangers, I thought, were a really good team. I kind of felt that they maybe got a little bit of too much of the same at the deadline. But, those were obviously really good players they added as well. So I didn't peg Vegas to go all the way. I thought, honestly, Toronto was a really good team, too. I could have seen them really making a run. You never know with McDavid and Draisaitl what Edmonton could do. I think that they just need a little more consistent goaltending, and they might be there as well, because 2 of the top 5 players in the league, it's tough to not make the conference finals, at least with that. But no, I didn't see Vegas going all the way. But like I said, they're a very deep structured team, and I thought Cassidy did a really good job with them, and their goaltending was unbelievable down the stretch. They started off with Brossoit, who was our Jets number 2 goalie for a couple of years there, so we all knew him really well. Yeah. And then he got hurt. Unfortunately, I think it looked like a pretty bad injury. I can't remember what it was, like something lower body.
Yeah, I think it was a hip.
Like a hip or something. Yeah, when he pushed across, it looked like a hip. Yeah. And then from there, Hill kind of came back from injury and was an absolute stud.
Lights
like
out.
he couldn't have been better.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and he's a big goalie too. Like he takes up a lot of net, and they are so well structured and play to their system so good that they block a ton of shots. You know, they take the shot lane away. That Hill was very comfortable. He looked like in that system, and you know, credit to that staff and that team.
Didn't see Florida going though, did you? Getting to the finals.
No, you know, I always thought Florida was a really talented team. You know, you look at that roster; they got some really good players.
Oh my God.
Obviously playing Boston first round, you're thinking Boston, but at the same time, I always felt like Florida was just, you know, they'd win a couple, then they'd lose. Like they never really got on that heater, where if they did, and they lost a ton in overtime. Like if you got rid of half their overtime losses, they would have been way higher in the standings. Oh. So Florida was always a team that I thought was really good. But like I said, playing Boston the first round, you never think they're going to beat the team with the best regular season record ever.
Right. Yeah, I was surprised by that.
Yeah, I think we all were.
I think everybody was.
Mason, this has been absolutely fabulous. Thank you very much for your time. It's been great.
Yeah, this is great. I love talking hockey, telling my side of things, and you guys have been awesome. It's great meeting you guys.
Well, appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget to leave a comment or a like on your social media platform or your podcast platform when you're listening to us. Helps us keep us in the game, right, Moog?
Absolutely. A big thanks again to our guest, Mason Appelton, as well as you, our audience. Please remember our sponsors, Market & Johnson, Parker Insurance, Valley Sports Academy, Northwoods Therapy Associates, and Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Follow us on your favorite social media platforms as well as YouTube. And remember, folks, until next time, stay on your inside edges.